Literature-Based Thematic Unit by Cole Wagner. NC Essential Standards. Our subject for this lesson plan is science. We are covering the properties of matter. The grade level is second, and the standard is 2.P.2. Understand the properties of solids and liquids and the changes that they undergo. Learning objectives include being able to give examples of solids and liquids and how temperature makes a difference in the two, and being able to explain the difference between water left alone for a given time in a closed container versus water left alone for a given time in an open container. Our topic is science, more importantly, the states of matter, including solids and liquids, and evaporation. Time allotment for these lesson plans includes 5 days with multiple time frames. The essential questions for Lesson 1 include: what is a solid? What is a liquid? Can these two states of matter be morphed into another? And does temperature cause a change? The learning targets include the following I can statements from the students. I can explain and give examples of a solid. I can explain and give examples of a liquid. I can explain what temperature does to a solid, and I can explain what temperature does to a liquid. In Lesson 1, we will cover what a solid is and how we can classify a solid. Then, students will give examples of solids in their everyday lives, and they will attempt to explain what temperature can do to a solid. We will read a book covering solids and watch a video covering solids. We will take a walk as a class, and each student will find at least 3 objects. When we get back into the room, the students will write about their objects and what makes them a solid. Then they will get to answer the question, what would happen if we introduced these objects to heat? The time allotment for this is 30 minutes. For Day 2 of Lesson 1, we will cover liquids. We will learn about what a liquid is and how we know it's a liquid. We will read and watch a video about liquids. And then the class will individually give examples of liquids that they have dealt with that day. These examples could include your drinking of orange juice, taking a shower in the morning, or merely brushing your teeth. What would happen if we introduced any of these liquids to a cooling effect? How do you know? Time allotment, 30 minutes. Day 3 of Lesson 1, we will read and watch a video on the effects of temperature towards solids and liquids. The class will give some examples of what they think will happen to solids and liquids when temperature is introduced. Guess what? It's experiment time. As a class, we will go into the teacher's lounge. We will talk about what will happen if we put water in the freezer. Of course, as a prepared instructor, I will already have ice sitting in the freezer ready to be able to pull out. Once we do this, we will talk about the freezing action of the freezer and how it caused the water to go to a colder temperature and become ice. Then we will talk about what will happen if we put ice in a pot on the stove. The heat from the stove will cause the ice to melt, which then morphs into water again. The time allotment for this lesson is 30 minutes. Lesson 2, on Day 1, we will cover our essential questions, which are: what is a liquid? What is evaporation? And can water evaporate? The learning targets include the following I can statements. I can explain what a liquid is. I can explain what evaporation is, and I can accurately tell if water evaporates. We will revisit our prior knowledge of matter. Students will need to answer the question, what is a liquid? How do we know it's a liquid? And now we will introduce a new question, what is evaporation? We will watch a video and read about evaporation. I will ask my students, what do you think will happen to a liquid that is left out in the room? Have you ever seen a mud hole in the summertime? What happens to it? Allow the students to tell you what they see happening to a mud hole in the summer. Does it get smaller and smaller each day? It's experiment time. This experiment will need to be started very early that morning to ensure ample time for the water to evaporate. You will have the class help you semi-fill 2 very shallow containers with water. This way you will be able to see the difference of the evaporation. Place them next to a window and cover only one of the containers. Now, every hour, have the class look at each one of the bowls. Ask them what is happening. Can you tell a difference? They'll need to write their results down. The time allotment will be 30 minutes. For day 2, we will have the class view the containers once again. What happened? Is one less full than the other? Why is that? Please keep in mind that the containers need to sit in the room overnight. Have each student draw a picture depicting the containers the day before and today. They will each need to write a 6-sentence conclusion about what happened to the water. Did evaporation have something to do with it? How do we know? For our conclusion, the class will come together and we will discuss the changes and their observations. Time allotment will be 25 minutes.